We're here at Global Relay's head office in Vancouver, Canada, and our backdrop is of the start-finish line of the Global Relay Gastown Grand Prix. My name is Mark, and joining me today is Erinne Willock and Gina. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah. So this is a special opportunity to bring you two together because the history of the timing of your guys' individual wins aligns very well together, and I hope give some good stories behind your excitement and experiences with the event. But let's start with you, Erinne. Erinne, you are the winner of the 2007 event. Mm-hmm. You both were teammates in 2008 during the Beijing Olympics.
Yeah.
And you've also been teammates in the pro leagues or series on a professional team together as well. So there's some great history between the two of you guys as athletes. Erinne, give us a little bit of insight around your experience with the race in 2007, and we'll move that along then to Gina's thoughts of her experiences winning it as a three-time winner, 2005, 2006, and 2008. There's only been a handful of people that have won it three times, right? There is a possibility that somebody could win it the fourth time this year, and that's with Kendall Ryan because she has signed up to take part in the race. And then we've also got Leah Kirchman joining the event as a past two-time winner. That could become part of that history of three winners.
Yep.
Right. So let's get into the 2007 win for you.
Right.
And go from there.
Well, Gina and I were both teammates that year, and we were racing together on a pro team. But we came to the line, we were the only teammates we had, just the two of us. Gina obviously is the sprinter of the team, and I was a climber, but always loved the event. Like, love the event. It's such an exciting crowd, huge thing, and racing in front of my home crowd, right? But of course, it's also a hard crit. So breakaways do happen because you have the slight uphill, you have the technical corners and the cobbles. So it's not unheard of in this race where breakaways happen and lap the field or get away. So we knew that was obviously going to be my job to try and get into any breaks that occurred. And Gina also, if she gets in a break, but Gina can also win field sprints. So we had the two hands, right? And when Leah Goldstein, took the flyer off the front, I was able to follow her and get in a great break for the day and win the race.
Yeah, and Leah in her own right is an amazing competitor.
Absolutely.
Not only in the sport of cycling, but with her past being part of the Israeli Special Forces, world champion in kickboxing, yep. And now the record holder of the Ram race, which is a grueling multi-day non-stop race across America.
Yes.
Right. So you definitely beat a very strong-willed person, and physically, of course, but a good champion to beat on that day.
She was always a good racer.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Right.
And she drove that breakaway the whole time. And to be honest, I didn't do much pulling at all during that breakaway because I had Gina as my teammate for the backup. So if we were to get caught, Gina, of course, was there to be the sprinter.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think for the people listening that maybe don't come from a cycling background and are just interested in the event and what Global Relay is doing to elevate the sport in the community here from it. Cycling comes across as sort of a one person that wins the event, but as we know in the sport, it really does take a team to be consistently successful or increase those odds of success for
Absolutely.
sure. Right?
Yeah, like my win was a tactical win, as in if I didn't have Gina as my teammate in the field sprint, my role in that breakaway would have changed because I would have had to give Leah Goldstein a helping hand, and then our cards at the finish line would have been more evenly matched. And who knows had I out sprinted her or not. Right. But because I didn't have to do that, and I had Gina in my back pocket, then I was able to, as in cycling, we say sit on and take the win.
Yeah, and that's for sure the right tactic to do that way. So Gina, you won it in 2005, 6, and 8. The 1 year in between was the year that maybe it could have been 4 in a row and you would have been the one person between both men and women to have won it 4 times.
Yep.
So historically, we have 2 men's winners that have won it 3 times in a row. It's Ron Heyman and Eric Young. And in Ron's scenario, he came very close to 4 as well. The 1 year he came second, it was Bill Wilde who beat him in a sprint on that year. And that was Bill's second win because Bill is the first winner of the event in 1973. Mm-hmm. So the first women's winner in 1979 was Dawn Dealey. And since then, there's always been a men's and women's field during the years that the event is on. But talk us through a little bit around that first win. And I think as an athlete, you experience that excitement of winning a cool event. And then you probably are thinking to yourself, this would be really good to win again, right? It happens then a second time, and then there's a mentality change all of a sudden that happens, after you've won something or maybe lost something all of a sudden, then to come back and win it again, in 2008, right? So how was that in that first year? How did things unfold? Were there some breakaways that got away initially early? Did it all come back down to a field sprint? Talk us through a little bit around that first experience for you.
So yeah, that was a long time ago now. But with the nature of how the course is set up, the Gastown course, it is a course that can favor breakaways because it is very technical on that bottom corner. And then, as Aaron said, you have that long downhill, which actually makes it really good for could make it really good for staying away if you're in a break. So it is a course that does favor breakaways, but that particular year, it came down to a field sprint. And I think perhaps my mountain bike experience, for me, mentally, I thought it may have helped with that because the finishing sprint is so bumpy. And you need to time, not only are you looking at positioning around that last corner, are you assessing wind, are you assessing everybody around you, and you're also assessing your energy and how much energy you should be putting out at different times. But you actually had to plan your pedal stroke, and you need to be in tune with and watching the bumps on the road because the bumps are so big that if you pedal at the wrong time, you're going to lose power. And every single watt you need to come up that finish line because it's also a false flat. So. I don't even know how I did it, but I mean, I'll never forget my first win here because I still get goosebumps when I think about it. And so then it happened again, and again the next year was a field sprint. And quite honestly, coming into the third year, Aaron and I were teammates, and it wasn't even in my head that I was going to come, be in the cards for the only person winning 3. It wasn't even on my radar, right? You have a teammate in the field, and if you have a teammate up the road that can win the bike race, then that's a win, right? That's a good day. So it didn't even come across my mind like, if she's up the road, didn't it's like, oh man, Aaron's up the road, it's awesome, right? And so that year it was just the cards were perfect, like you were saying.
They were.
It was just we had I called it insurance, right? Because I was the insurance in the field. Absolutely. And you were up the road. It was like it was a beautiful moment in cycling where it illustrated how teamwork can work and we only had 2 people.
Yeah.
So and there was some teams that had more teammates than us. So it was a beautiful situation where Aaron literally didn't have to work. Leah Goldstein, in her amazing strength, was able to keep away from a raging field of like 40 women, and the attacks were going off. People were chasing. They didn't just let Leah sit out there with no effort. Like it was intense. There was you weren't there.
I wasn't there.
Yeah, but so then my job back in the pack was to follow the attacks, right? So I had to make sure that if anything got off the road, I was in there. And so,
did you feel you were marked because you were also the road champion
for sure.
at that time?
Yeah. For
so
sure.
Once you've won an event multiple times, you're the current road champion. I mean, it's quite distinctible with the kit that you wear, wearing the maple leaf kind of colors in that outfit, so you can't really hide too much from it. So obviously that would be a big factor as well to be able to do multiple repeats, right, on an event
Yeah,
this magnitude.
it was, yeah,
For
definitely.
sure.
So I was
Gina was always a marked man. So yeah, you were.
in crits, but not hills.
But we were in the crit.
We were in a crit, yeah. So I do remember being pretty gassed with all the, following all the attacks, and
It was pouring rain.
It was pouring rain. That's right.
Yeah.
It was pouring rain, and there was some carnage for sure. We didn't go down, but there was
No, so you had to stay upright. That's part of it.
Part of racing. So it was a perfect storm. Perfect storm.
You guys were teammates in 06 for Commonwealth Games.
Yep.
And then 08 for the Olympics, which were in Beijing. So then your third wing was in 08.
08, yep.
During the games, just before the games.
Just
you
before.
would have been leaving probably 2 weeks afterwards. Games are typically second week of August.
Yeah, it was incredible because Erinne and I were standing on the start-finish line, and the Canadian anthem was going, and I was just like, I literally probably had tears in my eyes because then they announced us as going to the Olympics, and
so that had become public at that time because sometimes they don't release the names. So they did release the names, I guess, just before the event. Who was selected, and then at the end,
everyone knew it. It was like pretty much like a week and a half later that we left. And I remember specifically during that race, it was my final prep for the Olympics, and it was really neat because it was in our hometown. It was the biggest race, I consider it the biggest race of the year for me because of the crowds and hometown and just the glory of the race. But it was my final hard effort, my final race before the Olympics. And I remember that specifically that year, there was a preem at 2 to go. And I still remember the bell. I'm like, Gina, in my head, I'm like, Gina, this is your final prep for the Olympics. Go for the preem and go for the win. And
cool.
Right? And so I won the preem at 2 to go. Stuck my position and then won the race.
That's hard to do.
It's hard to do.
Crowd preem or the gambler's preem, and for those that are maybe not well understand that what that is typically throughout the race there's people that go around and collect change from the spectators, and that gets all added up, right? So for around here, typically that can be $2,000-$3,000 over the course of the evening that get collected, and then that gets always split 50-50 between men's and women's event. And that we call the gambler's preem because it is very hard to go for that sprint and then completely reset yourself to be in a position, and also physically from not being too tired if there's any kind of counterattacks on that last lap or two, to also reset yourself for the final sprint. So amazing that you were able to do that, and also with the mentality of going into the Olympics that you weren't too concerned about crashing or having anything like that just prior to having to go to the Olympics, because a lot of people, once they know they're qualified, because this is a very technical course that we've talked about, it's a good mindset to have gone into it with that attitude, I think.
That's interesting. I didn't even think of that. I didn't even think of the crashing component, because when you're in it, now I look at it, I'm like, right. But when you're in it, I didn't even think of that. Honestly,
which I don't think you can, because I think if you start thinking that way, it would completely hampers any kind of move that you want to do going into the final corner or a hole that you want to get through or anything like that, right?
Totally.
So,
especially as a sprinter, like these guys are always in this position of, crowded spots and trying to move through the field and
move
get
through
to the
spots
front
that aren't there.
Yeah, exactly. Find space where there's no space. So it's full contact for those guys.
It is exactly full contact.
And you guys are part of a very elite group of people that have won this historic event. I think it's fair to say this is probably one of the most recognizable and historic criteriums in North America.
Oh yeah,
in that
for
regard.
Sure.
If you look at the names, both on the men's and women's trophy, every single person on there has pretty much gone to the Olympics, has gone to the World Championships, represented their countries, and has had successful pro careers in their time. Right? So, I think it's amazing that we're able to get together like this and share these types of stories around the event. And the other aspect around, I think, what makes this such a historic event is that atmosphere. When you talk about everything that goes through in your mind, and it's subconsciously around that pedal stroke and where to position yourself and all of these types of things, it comes intuitive, as an athlete that way, but you're thinking about every detail. it's being able to say that you've won on these kind of cobblestones, right? And be able to, in this environment where there are 10,000, 15, 20,000 spectators, even 30,000 spectators at times, banging on the boards, and it's like a thunder rolling down on the laps, and especially during those last 5 or 6 laps, it keeps picking up.
I have goosebumps again.
Yeah,
they're coming. Yeah. It's
yeah. I'm sure that with most athletes, you still have the mindset of being able to race. Physically, I mean, everyone is like there,
we were
but
just talking about that.
Right?
Oh, we could jump in there, like
right. So I think
no.
you probably have the enthusiasm to be like, oh man, it'd be so fun to be lining up again and being part of that. But any kind of words that you could give to the next generation that's coming out, and we've got a youth event. Erinne, you're part of the Global Relay Bridge the Gap Fund group. Yeah. That's been an amazing project that gives an opportunity for youth cyclists to have some financial support if they're in the position to kind of get them through that amateur time to get to a pro level. Maybe talk a little bit about that, your experience with that over the years. I think you've had some great success with athletes that have been able to go on to the world stage with it. And that youth component now, we've got a youth race that's just been part of the legacy of Global Relay taking over the event since 2012 and using that.
Yeah, well, Global Relay has made a fund it's called Bridge the Gap. So the meaning of it is to bridge the gap from athletes going from the junior to senior and to hopefully get onto pro teams and be able to make a living out of cycling. And so we're there to help those athletes bridge that gap of those tough years where they need a lot of financial help and a lot of mentorship help to get onto those pro teams. So we've been really successful with the athletes coming through. And we have a very large mentorship program with it as well, where we are set up with individual athletes and help them along with the year. And it's been really successful.
That's great. And it's nice having them, the ones that are attending the event, always have a group photo. And there's usually 10, 15 of them out here and right across Water Street by the start-finish line. We have everyone sort of stand there on that part. And so I think it is an amazing opportunity, which generations before, just that type of support wasn't there, and even just the awareness for many youth to be able to get into the sport at a young age. I think typically for many of us that were starting in sort of the 90s, we were all kind of late high school or maybe college years when we start. Now it's starting to get a little bit more in a scenario where 13, 14-year-olds have some of the youth programs on the island and in the Lower Mainland here to get into it. Kind of on a high finish here on that part, what is a message that each of you could kind of provide to that next generation and everyone that is going to be coming and taking part in the event this year? Maybe we'll start with you, Erinne.
I think for the athletes coming, they need to remember to enjoy this event. It is an event on the world stage. It's comparable to anything you see with the crowds, and the energy of the day is quite the experience, and the noise and everything that goes on is really wonderful. The course is super challenging. So yeah, they're in a heyday of their lives, right? And it's a fun moment. So stay safe and race hard.
Fantastic.
Pretty much.
Gina, any other?
Yeah, I think with the young ones coming up, never be afraid to ask questions and take the opportunities when they come. Because with my career, if I look back, I was open to taking those opportunities, and that's what led me to the Olympics. Is I tried it. I was open to trying something new, and so don't be afraid to take that risk and to try something new and ask questions. Go up to the pros, ask the questions. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to get out there and ask questions and figure out how to do it.
Right. That's good thoughts. Anything else that you want to share or talk about here?
No, other than I can't wait for this year. Yeah, I cannot wait to watch the race, and it's going to be a big rivalry, big rivalry with the people that are coming, and I just can't wait to be immersed in that environment again, and get those feelings of racing again, even though I can't race that fast anymore.
Well, Well, celebrating
No.
the 50th year is going to be special.
It sure
We
is.
look
Very
forward
special.
To, yeah,
And
having
coming
this-
back after a couple years and not having the event,
Exactly.
that'll be really fun.
Yeah. No, it's going to be exciting to see 30,000 people coming down here and creating that atmosphere once again. So
It sure
yeah.
is.
Well, thank you for sharing your insight and passion in the sport and your experiences with the event. We look forward to seeing you on the 12th of July.
You bet. Thank you,
Thanks,
Mark.
Mark.